People, welcome to Newspaper Breakdown. It is the 9th of the 3rd. I hope we're all ready for news. There is, of course, as always, news stories to get through. We'll start over in Nigeria, where Nigeria has postponed its crucial state elections due to be on Saturday, amid widespread claims that the presidential election was rigged. The Electoral Commission announced on Wednesday night, after hours of long meetings, it was pushing back the polls by a week. The Commission has attributed the delay to problems with reconfiguring a digital voting system that had been the source of international criticism after it failed to perform as promised during the presidential elections on the 25th of February. Earlier on Wednesday, the Court of Appeals rejected a request by the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party to inspect the digital tablets used to screen voters and transmit results from polling stations. Labour and the PDP have alleged that the failure to transmit results from many polling stations to a much heralded public website until days after the presidential polling day allowed the ruling All Progressive Congress Party to collude with the Electoral Commission officials to manipulate the results. We've done a couple of stories on the Nigerian elections and have called Nigeria, as they are called, a bellwether for democracy in Africa, because if it works well there, it will give faith to a number of other countries to believe that democracy could work in their country. This is bad. This is not fun. This is not fun at all. It will be interesting to see what comes of these state Congress results, because Congress is, of course, very important in Nigeria, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. Anyway, next we'll talk about the the Sutton Trust. The Sutton Trust, which campaigns for greater social mobility through education, great thing, brought out a new report and found their tuition gap between the rich and poor families in England has almost disappeared thanks to the government's pandemic recovery programme. But funding cuts threaten to widen the gap again. This is one of the stories of the government actually doing well. So do check the temperature. Hell may well have frozen over. The government's tutoring programme, which targeted extra help for disadvantaged pupils through their schools, has almost eradicated the gap in access to tuition enjoyed by wealthier families. Research found 32% of children in the worst off households reported taking up extra tuition in school, compared with 22% in the most well-off families. Once private tuition was included, the trust found that 39% of those from the most well-off households were tutored last year, compared with 37% from the worst off households. This is fantastic. This is absolutely, you want the numbers to be higher, of course, but maybe they don't need tutoring, the other 60%. The report said the National Tutoring Programme is allowing a much wider group of people to access tutoring, with the potential to help level the playing field between the most and least disadvantaged. Data shows that regions with the lowest rates of private tutoring now have the highest rates of in-school tutoring. Once again, fucking brilliant. This is the type of thing that will help the country to remove inequality. Education is remarkably important, and if these places that can't afford to get out of school tutoring are able to access in-school tutoring, fucking win. Ticket, tick, tick, tick. Well done. Fucking fantastic. This is what you want. The government currently funds 60% of the costs of tutoring, while schools pay 40%. But later on this year, because you can't have nice things, the government will cut it to 25%, meaning that the schools will have to cover 75%. They will not be able to. They simply will not be able to. So this tutoring will be gone. So the good thing that the government did, the really good thing, the top notch, well done, I'm actually impressed with your thing, they're fucking that off. Keeping it long term could help tackle the attainment gap, and has given tutoring to children who would never have had the chance to get it before. And they're going to get rid of it. But let's take the win while we're here, that they have done something nice, even if it was for just a couple of years. In funnier news, financial losses at GB News has shot up to more than £30 million. Fantastic. That was last year, as the parody of Thought news channel invested in hiring presenters to combat the launch of Talk TV. Talk TV, of course, being Murdoch's attempt at Fox News in the UK, coming across as Fox shit, which is nice. GB News has hired Farage, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Esther McVeigh, Philip Davies, and Lee Anderson, most of whom are actual MPs with actual jobs that they're actually meant to be doing, and have collectively the IQ of a particularly stupid potato. GB News, of course, I have to point out, Talk TV have also picked up their own fucking idiot during the transfer window. They picked up the Dean Dorrans, who, I mean, comparatively, that is the level of stupid as all of them, isn't it, really? Like the king of twats. GB News is finding it hard to get advertisers, even though they have at least 10 of the only right-wing comedians in the country on, with such hard-hitting views as you can't say anything anymore, and I identify as a penguin, proper bang comedy, pow 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 pow, tedious bores. The value of GB News has also fallen, with Discovery, who had a share in GB News, having purchased a share for 20 million, has sold that same share for 8 million. So it's good news all round. Fucking wonderful. They all look in a mirror and be depressed by their own honesty. Post-Brexit trade deals we'll go on to. There's only a couple more stories, I reckon. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 new stories. Yeah, easy. The post-Brexit trade deal with Canada and Mexico has spread fears of a Tory party revolt, after it was revealed that the deals would include import of high-carbon beef and low-welfare pork. Just like a mummy used to make. Former Environmental Secretary George Eustice has already raised concerns over the low welfare standards for pigs in Canada. George Eustice has been out quite a lot for particular environmental animal welfare things. He was out complaining about the Australia trade deal. However, he supported Brexit quite a lot when he was a minister, because it's always important to remember that none of them have an ounce of integrity. And no matter if he's coming out now going, oh mate, it's terrible, this is terrible, this shouldn't happen, this is fucking ridiculous, and it should not happen. They're the same people who, if they were a cabinet minister at the moment, still a secretary at the moment, they would be there saying how wonderful it is, because none of them have an ounce of integrity. The deal also goes against the advice of the Climate Change Committee, who wrote a letter to Farming Minister Mark Spencer after he refused to rule out Mexican beef imports, with the committee saying it could compromise the UK's carbon targets because we would be transporting everything from fucking Mexico. It include in Canada, pigs and sows face practices that are banned in the UK. Like being kept for long periods in stalls that do not give them room to move around. Same with Mexico, who have standards that are below ours, because our animal welfare standards were in line with the EU. And do not forget that when Brexit happened and everyone told you, I tell you what we're not going to do, we're not going to lower standards, it was a lie. It was a lie. And that's what the vote happened, and now everyone's going to lower standards. We've already lowered standards with our deals with New Zealand and Australia, lowering standards all the way to the bottom until we're nothing more than fucking cattle. And of course it's going to undercut our farming industry, but fuck them, they voted for it. Every single farmer that voted for Brexit, even though everyone told them that it's going to be bad, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for you. Don't do that. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Should be trampled by cows. Fuck them. North Sea's biggest producer has hit out at the windfall tax in oil and gas companies after claiming a near 700% surge in profits was all but wiped out by the levy. Harbour Energy has said its pre-tax profits had risen from $315 million in 2021 to $2.5 billion in 2022. However, after-tax profits fell from $101 million to $8 million. Despite this, the company has announced that it would spend $200 million on a share buyback scheme and said that shareholders' returns since December 2021 had totaled $1 billion. So this is the thing. They're going to still spend a lot of money putting up their buying back shares, which raises their share price, and the shareholders have got an extra $1 billion from holding their shares. Yet they're complaining because they've made a lot of money off of a war which is abhorrent, and then they've put prices up on everything, which has helped with an energy crisis and a cost of living crisis which people have fucking died from, and they're complaining that they have to give some of their money away. Drown the fuckers. Absolute state of people. And the greed in this world is Brobdingnagian. You want to go around and bitch slap the world, tell them to wake up. I think you'll find we actually have to pay a lot of tax. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Because what you're doing in oil and gas is killing the planet. So if you have to pay tax off the back of that, that's a bit higher. We can call it a morality tax. And do that. That'll be fun. Britain's plan to tackle the chronic shortages in the labour market will start by loosening rules for the construction sector on foreign workers. The government has said that targeted immigration is needed to plug labour shortages. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. This, of course, comes at the same week that Sunak has announced a crackdown on migration via illegal routes, suggesting that migrants coming over here in illegal routes should come with their own hammer and level. Then maybe we'll give them a job. The shortage occupation list will allow employers to bring in key staff at lower salary thresholds of £20,480 compared to the current skilled worker salary threshold of £25,600, or at 80% of the going rate for the occupation, whichever is higher. Notice that's lower, notice that's lower. 80%, just 80 fucking percent. Fucking, yeah, you can pay them less. I don't care if you pay them less. Fucking ridiculous. There will also be reduced visa fees. Instead of going, right, we've got a shortage of employees. Why is no one taking this job? Instead of thinking, maybe I should put up the wage. The government, who is against free movement, by the way, and against immigration, has decided that instead of companies having to put up their wages, they have decided to let in migrants that have, I'm going to say, a higher chance of being underpaid and exploited. Keep the migrants out. They're all after your jobs. Finally, after 2 nights of protests, Georgia's ruling party has withdrawn the controversial foreign agent bill. That was the bill I spoke about in yesterday's one of these. Fantastic news. Protesting can work. Not in this country, of course, but we don't do it enough. We don't do it right, do we? We're very damp squid on there, aren't we? When it comes to protesting. Actually, setting fire to some more Land Rovers or something, proper rev it up. So that's it. I shall speak to you tomorrow. Bye.